Oh. We're going to start you off with all this week's WWE news. First of all, nothing happened at Roadblock. No, but in all fairness, Roadblock was a fantastic show from an in-ring perspective, but did it really matter in the end? Nothing really happened to lead us into WrestleMania with any twists or turns. It was all very, very predictable. The only real thing that's been achieved is that Dean Ambrose is now way more over than he was before, and Roman Reigns is still the second biggest babyface in the company. And next up, we've got some particularly sad news. Fellow Toon Boy, in the words of Adam Blombier, Neville, found himself injured on this week's Monday Night Raw. Tried to execute a baseball slide on AJ Styles, caught his toe on the canvas, and sadly injured both his shin and his ankle. And it's apparently going to keep him on the shelf for 2 to 3 months, which of course means that he's going to miss WrestleMania. We can only wish him the speediest of recoveries and hopefully a very impressive WrestleMania 33. Now this week on NXT, several more matches were added to an already stacked NXT TakeOver Dallas card. At the start of the show, Sami Zayn came to the ring, I'll never do that again, cut a promo, then Regal came out on stage and said, "You deserve a fantastic opponent for TakeOver Dallas." He then pointed to the Titantron, and who should pop up but everyone's favourite king of strong style, Shinsuke Nakamura. Then, as well as that match, the end of the show saw Jordan and Gable, that's American Alpha if you prefer that, I don't personally. They won a #1 contendership match against the Vaudevillains, and they'll be facing the Revival at Dallas as well. Now for all the rest of the news this week from elsewhere in the world of wrestling. First off, we're heading to TNA where they've got a new world champion. Drew Galloway cashed in his Feast or Fired briefcase on previous champion Matt Hardy and beat him in just 24 seconds. Secondly, we've got another piece of TNA news. Now you may have heard that Mr. Anderson is no longer part of the company. Now this news follows reports of a controversial incident at a recent set of TNA TV tapings. News reports suggest that Anderson had a match with Eric Young so bad that the match was even pulled from TV. And there's even rumours that they may have almost come to blows backstage. Anderson has since been revealed to have failed an in-house drugs test and subsequently led an ICW crowd in a FTNA chant at a recent event. And finally, it's my favourite, it's the wacky, crazy world of Lucha Underground. What am I doing? I'm just excited by masks. Champion Mil Muertes and #1 contender Phoenix had an absolute barnstormer of a match. Spoiler alert, pause the video if you don't know yet, go and watch the match. Phoenix won. And what this means for the atmosphere of the temple is quite sort of interesting because when Muertes was champion, it was all dark and gloomy. Are we now going to see a lighter feel to the show? And finally, it's time for all of this week's takeaways. Now you've got to feel for Roman Reigns because he's not enjoyed the best of reactions this week. On Raw, he didn't get too positive a response despite kicking the shit out of Triple H. And then on SmackDown, I don't know if you've seen the footage that WWE have been tearing down from the internet, but he was booed out of the building. Now we're not talking about just 1 or 2 people in a corner booing him. This was everybody on their feet screaming abuse at supposedly the company's #1 babyface. Now this obviously isn't great news for WrestleMania, and speaking of WrestleMania, it's only 2 weeks away this Sunday. The 3 main events aside, and also potentially the women's match, which if given enough time could be fantastic, those matches aside, it's not the strongest card in the world. Matches such as Kalisto v Ryback, League of Nations v New Day, they're not really setting the world on fire, and this is supposed to be the biggest show of the year, and it just makes me wonder, is there space for any NXT involvement on the card? Now a few months ago, we here at WhatCulture released a book called The 100 Worst Wrestling Moments of 2015. You guys enjoyed it so much that we've released another one. It's called Shocking Wrestling Plans You Won't Believe Almost Happened, and it delves into some of the more bizarre angles that didn't quite hit your screens from companies such as WWE and WCW. And as if you needed any more reason to buy the book, it also features a foreword from none other than Jim Cornette and features from wrestling personalities such as Vince Russo and Dan Madigan. It's available in ebook format via Amazon.com, and there's also paperback editions available at Lulu.com in the US and shop.whatculture.com in the UK. Sadly, that's all we've got time for on this week's edition of The Fast Count. I've been Jack from WhatCulture.com. You can find me at Jack_the Jobber on Twitter, and I'll see you soon.